Hello and welcome to this video lesson for Autumn Leaves on the 5-string banjo. So, I want to do a lot in this lesson, so let me talk about the concept and kind of what's on the docket here. I have here before me a very simple arrangement of Autumn Leaves for the banjo, using basic triadic shapes that you probably already know if you played the banjo for a while. It's just kind of the chords, the melody, shove them together. We'll talk a little bit about how I do that when we go through it, ideas for doing that. But when I do this with students, or if you want to play it, the idea here is that you could make it a little more interesting, make it your own. So in order to do that, I'm going to talk about a bunch of things. The first thing I'm going to talk about is seventh chords. So if you don't know what seventh chords are, we're going to have a section here, and I'll put the time codes down below, where I talk about what seventh chords are, what are the different types of seventh chords that you could use, and also another section of taking shapes you probably already know and using them to find these seventh chords shapes, because it's nice to have tricks like this rather than just a whole bunch of different ways of playing seventh chords, which often doesn't work when you're trying to arrange something. We'll talk about that as that comes up. Then I'll have another section talking about improvisational, compositional techniques that you could use to zhuzh this up or to make it your own. Now, originally I wanted to do 2 arrangements for this video, just so you could hear what it sounds like when these techniques are applied to make it a little more interesting. And I thought maybe that's a bit too much work. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through the basic arrangement so you can hear it and see it. Then I'm going to play through kind of an improvised version with these ideas, just something there. And I thought if there is people interested, I'm totally okay with transcribing whatever I end up playing and doing a quick companion video, so there's like tab of it. But I would definitely only put it up on Patreon. If nobody's interested, then I won't do it. But if, let's say, I get 5 comments down below saying, oh yeah, I'd like to see the tab of that, and you're okay going to my Patreon to get it, then I'm totally okay with transcribing this. So if you'd like to see the tab of that, please put comments down below. Then we're going to go line by line through the tab of the original version, of the basic version in this video, and we'll talk about the chords we're using and all that stuff. Okay, so time codes below. But really quickly, let me run through what we're doing on this. First, playthrough of this basic version. Second, playthrough of kind of an improvised version that'll be a little more advanced using the techniques we'll talk about. Then we're going to talk about seventh chords. What are they? Where to find them on the banjo. Then we're going to talk about compositional techniques to zhuzh this up. And then we're going to go line by line through the tab of the basic version and learn how to play it. Okay, so first things first, this is the basic version. Sounds like this. 1, 2, 1. Okay, now let me try to do that a little more interesting. This is what it sounds like. 1, 2, 1. There we go. So those are the 2 versions. So now, like I said, you can time code skip down here. Tabs are going to be in the video, but if you want a PDF of them, you're going to have to get that on Patreon. So, seventh chords, what are they? So really quickly, if we have a G major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, we give each of those numbers so that we can talk about them a little bit better, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Now most chords that we learn how to play, majors, minors, are just the first, the third, and the fifth of a scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have these 1, 3, 5 chords, right? And you should be able to play these kind of basic 1, 3, 5 chords. Right, you can check out other videos I've done that'll talk a little bit about that. Those are kind of nice. We're going to build from them. Now, what's nice about knowing those chord shapes is if you understand those chord shapes, we can take them and make seventh chords out of it. Now, seventh chords just have one extra note to them. So it's the first, the third, the fifth, and the seventh. So they're 4-note chords. Now, we only have 4 strings on a banjo, so we can really only hold each, like if we want to play all the notes, we have to hold all of them. So we have to make decisions about how to hold these shapes, which will come up in a second. So really quickly, what are the types of seventh chords? Well, we have what's called a major 7, which is just built from a major scale and has 1, 3, 5, and the 7 of the scale, right? 1, 3, 5, 7. Now, if you know what a minor chord is, a minor chord has a flattened third. So just a normal minor triad is 1, flat 3, flat 5. So a minor 7 chord has that plus a flat 7. So we get 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, right? In the key of G, it's F. We'll just kind of keep it to the numbers here, and it'll make a little more sense as we go through. So we have major 7, 1, 3, 5, 7. Minor 7, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. Then we have a dominant 7, which is 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Right, kind of a mixture between major and minor. Then we have a minor 7, flat 5, which is going to be 1, it's kind of like what it says, 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. Okay? Those are the 4 really, really common seventh chords that you need to know. I'll have the numbers up there. Now, how this can be really helpful is if you know your major shapes, just even your major shapes. Minor shapes are nice to know as well. But if you know your major shapes, you can find and alter them to make them seventh chords, right? So let's just take really quickly. Here's a G major shape on the, third position here. So the G is up here. So I'm going to put that shape up there, and I'm going to put the intervals. So if you know what the intervals are, 1, 3, 5, 1, or if you want to know the notes, G, B, D, G. Well, if I want to get a seventh, it's much easier to think in the number system. If I want to get a seventh, well, 7, the scales are 7 notes, so the 8th note is the octave, or just the same note again. So the 7th note is the same as like -1. It's like going back 1 from the G note. So if we want the 7th note, we can either find it from going up from the 5th all the way to the 7th, right? So in the case of a major 7, I'd have to take this 5th, 1, 3, 5, and go up 2 whole steps, or 4 frets, and get that note. So I would take that shape and I would add this 7th in there. So there's no 5th in there, but that's one way of doing it. Another way is to take the root, so the 8th or the 1, and just move it back 1 fret. And if I do that, I can do it here. That's a nice shape. Or I can take this, because there's another 1 there, and I can move that back and get it here. So those are kind of the 3 basic options I can do with this shape. And you can do that with, well, let's quickly, before we go into the other shapes, I could take this shape and now, if I want to make, let's say, a dominant 7. So a dominant 7 is a major chord, plus it has that flat 7. So if the 7 was 1 fret behind the 1, or 4 frets above the 5, well, the flat 7 is just going to be 1 fret lower than that. So it's either 2 frets below the 1, so it's this F note, or 3 frets above the 5. So I could either get the 7 like this on the top string, or I could get it like the flat 7. I could get it like this. This is on the 2nd string, 3 frets up from the 5, or I can move it down from the root here. So those are 3 different variations of a 7th chord here. And this is really helpful because when you're doing an arrangement, sometimes you have to really decide what voicing works. You know, you could have a gazillion of these voicings, but if you know how to manipulate the chord shapes you have, it becomes a lot easier. Now let's go through the other 2 shapes. So if you have a minor chord shape, so I like to start with a minor chord shape. So this is 1, flat 3, 5. So that's G minor. And you'll notice that I just flattened the 3, so relatively simple. But if we want to do a flat 7, well, it's the 1, flat 3, 5, so the minor chord shape, and then added the flat 7. Well, we already knew where those are. It's there, or it's here, or it's, so right, it's either 2 frets below the 1 or 3 frets above the 5. Now the last one, if we can do it, is the minor 7 flat 5, right? So I can do it from a major shape. Let's do this. So it's 1 flat 3, flat 5, and then the flat 7. Sorry. So if I have this shape, first it's minor, so I'll flatten the third. 1 flat 3. Now the 5 has to be flat. Okay, and now the 7 we have to have a flat 7. So we could either get that from this root. So we'd have this shape. Ooh, that's a nice one. Or I could try doing it with the 1 here and the flat 7 at the top. Oh, that's... Now this one's a bit tough because we could put the 7 here, the flat 7 there, but now we don't have a flat 5. And it's got to be up to our ears of like, well, is it more important to get that flat 5 and get it like this maybe? Or, or to leave out the 7 and get this. You know, we have to make these judgments. But that's what you can do. And you can do that with all 3 of the basic shapes, right? If I have, this is a major chord, I could get the dominant, well, I'll do the major 7. Dominant 7 could be like this, or major 7, or it could be 4 frets up from the 1 and get like this. Or it could be, that's basically it. That's all the shapes you could do with that one. If I want to do minor 7, or let's say dominant 7, I could either do this, 2 frets below the 1, or 3 frets above the 5. If I want to do minor, here's a minor shape, right? A flat the third goes here. I could get minor 7 flat 5. Minor 7 is 2 frets below the 1, or I could go 3 frets above the 5th, and so on and so forth. So it's nice practice to do that with the 3 shapes, and then you've got a whole whack of chords, and you can manipulate them whenever you feel like it. So that there is our talk about 7th chords. Let's talk about the techniques that I used in my improvisation to come up with stuff. So sometimes it's helpful to divide the music up into melody and harmony. So we have chords and we have the melody. So you have this melody of do da da da. So the first thing we could really do is just rhythmically vary this up. So instead of ba 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 ba, I could go do da da ba, or I could go do do da 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 da, or anything. Like, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever rhythm. But just remember, that is a huge part of improvisation. Just changing the rhythm of something, that is improvisation. And sometimes it makes things way easier and way more your own, or just like, you know, if you take this arrangement and you just change the rhythm the second time you play the A section, makes a big difference. Next thing is, and I do this in the arrangement here, is arpeggiating the chords. So when we have the chords, so for example, that first phrase, you can arpeggiate it. So you could go however you want to do. So arpeggiation means just playing the notes of the chord. So in this case, I'm just picking the scale shape. And as long as you do it with a nice rhythm and a nice feel, like, that generally always works. So that's a really good idea of just making this a bit more interesting. Another thing that I do in the basic arrangement is I do what's referred to as sidestepping. And sidestepping is like, especially if you've got extra time on a chord, you can just take the chord. So I do it, let's say, on this G minor that we're going to do. Sidestepping is you just move it up or down a fret. Right? And back. And you can do that, like, this is just, we say this is chromatic sidestepping because I'm just doing the exact same shape. But I could also keep it in the scale. You know, and play notes that are in the scale and going up or down. So that's called sidestepping. That's another technique that generally applies to the chords. Now, here's kind of the big technique that we always use, is melodic connections, right? And sidestepping is kind of, we think of it as like a harmonic connection here. But if I take this melody, right? Well, I can do all sorts of things with it. When I get to this note, I have a little bit extra time, so why don't I just kind of sidestep that melody note and go up and down. Right? Or, like, I can connect the notes that I want to go to. So, for example, if I want to go from this note to this note, I can... that's... I think like a guitar player, and I get the wrong notes. So you can kind of, like, if I'm going from one note to another note, you can always connect them. And generally speaking, you can do that with the scale. Or you can do it kind of whatever combination. Like, if the logic is there that you're just connecting this note to this note, right? You can do it chromatically, right? Like, just all the notes in there. each kind of way of connecting it will kind of give you a different flavor. Often it's about what notes you want to do. You can experiment around. But connecting melody notes is like the easiest, biggest thing that you can do. Now, on that topic, because, you know, even when you do sidestepping, it's technically just connecting melody notes, is you can think about connecting the melody notes and the melody, and we can kind of keep our harmony and our melody separated. Here's the chords, I can arpeggiate them, maybe sidestep if I've got some time. Here's the melody, I can connect the notes, go up and down notes, just whenever I feel like it or want to add some extra notes. But we can also mix these two together, because really, like, harmony is just a bunch of melody put together. Right, that is the origin of chords, is people singing different melodies and going, oh, these notes work well together. And then we come up with systems of, oh, okay, well, what notes work well together? Let's just call them and we'll label them with blocks. But really, when you play chords, you're actually making separate melodies at the same time, or it's good to think that way. So you can always kind of like connect chords with melodies, so like with inner voice lines. So for example, I don't know, let's say I'm going to go from, here's a basic G chord to a D chord, right? So I could think like each of those notes is a melodic. This is going down, this note is going to that note, this note is going to that note, and this note is just staying there. So each one of those notes is a chance for me to do some sort of melodic idea. So let's say that high note, I could go da da da, ba da da. There you go. This note going to this note, I don't know, I could go ba da da da, ba. I'll do that again. Right? This note that stays here, well, I could hit it more times. Or I could, I don't know. Sure. Right? Each one of those notes can be thought of as a melody. And this is where you can get contrapuntal ideas. And sometimes it's nice to like take that and vary it and go, oh, I got some extra time and I'm just going from a G to a D. How can I do it? Well, I'll just connect some of those notes. And that's the idea. Okay, I hope that was all very helpful. So the last thing here I'm going to do is just go through this tab and talk about the chord shapes, connect them all. So let's go through this tab. All right, so we start off here. First line up, it's a melodic line. Now we're going to start with our third finger on this 12th fret. And we play this little melody line. Now here we want to do a C chord. Well, luckily, this C chord shape, just a basic minor shape, it's like a D shape, but D minor shape moved up, is right there. Now in the tab, I've just transcribed that it's a run up. Now I'm going to an F7. So I could go to an F chord down here, but actually it's nice to keep that 7 there because actually it's part of the melody and I'm holding it. So why not get it? So we have this first melody, chords, right? Now from this shape, I'm already prepared to play the next phrase of the melody, right? And then I do the same idea with these two chords. I have a B flat, it's like a D shape. And then this E flat major 7. I could do just an E flat with the bar shape, but we're going to keep that major 7 because our finger's already on it. It's a bit of a stretch. That sounds really nice, right? Then I'm already prepared to play the next melody phrase. Right now here I have this A minor 7. This shape is not something that you probably already know, but one way you can kind of think about, I'm not going to get into this shape, but like a C minor is kind of like most of an A minor 7. So if you could think of it as a C minor chord shape, I sometimes will do that. So that's like a C minor shape or this weird A minor 7 chord. Okay, so I have that note, then we run it, and this D7. Again, it's just the bar shape, but if I keep my pinky down, I get the 7, which is nice, right? And then a run up to the G here. And then there I want a G chord, so I make this, it's like a G minor. I make this D minor shape here, and I just do a side step. That's the end of the first phrase. So now we're going to go and do the A section again. The ending is a little bit different, but everything else is the same. C minor, F7, B flat major, E flat major 7, and A half diminished, minus F flat 5, D7. Now this phrase is just a little bit different. When we go back to the G, it changes here. All the way down to the root here. And now we're going to play this G minor. I think I wrote a side step on that as well. Perfect. Now, that A section is kind of a nice one to practice because it has this melody, chords, melody, chords. And that's a nice thing that you can kind of do often when you're playing. You play the melody and then you got some space, play the chords. Now the B section doesn't lend itself too well to that. So what instead we're going to do is we're going to play the melody basically exclusively on the first string so that we can underneath it play the chords that we want to do. So let's talk about this melody. So we start off here with this. Okay, so then we want to add the chords to it. So I'm going to go. So when this note happens, we're on an A minor 7 flat 5. So we're going to play this chord. And now it's a little bit weird because we have to hold this with a bar because I'm going to have to lift off my middle finger just to get the melody note there, that 7th fret D. And then we play a D chord just to kind of show that, oh, there's the chord. Then we're going to play that melody. Now here it's a G minor chord, so I'm going to make that G minor shape. And what I have written here is just an arpeggio thing, just to keep extra time. Now we have the next line, the next phrase. The melody is... Okay, so let's do that with the chords. So this note should be a C, so I have a C minor shape right here with the melody, F chord, then the melody, F chord again. Here's a B flat minor chord on this note. This is just an arpeggio, and we're back to that E flat minor 7. It's this E flat major 7. It's the same shape that we did earlier. Okay, next line, first the melody. Okay, that's what we have, and now we're going to do it with the chords. So this is like, it's an A minor. We talked a little bit before that you could use a C minor shape over an A minor 7 flat 5. That's what I do there. Then I'm going to get this as a D7 shape, just built off of this F shape, right? And I'm just going to move this down, parallel motion. This is a D7 flat 9. It's kind of based on this D open shape. Actually, I should have probably written that. That would have worked as well. Or did I write that? No, I wrote this flat 9 in the... It's because it's more interesting. And then this D7 flat 9, which is, again, this F shape, but we have a flat 9, which is the same as the 1 moving up a fret, because that's in the melody, so we have to put it there. Right? So we have, where did I go from? I'll go from this. Da da dee dee, da da ba da dee. And then here we have a quick run, and I decided to go, we'll just kind of show you the chords first. We're going from G minor to a C major, and then an F minor to a B flat major. So it's that A minor type shape to this F shape. And you can play it however you want, but in this arrangement I have... There you go. Now the melody here at the end, da, 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 dee, do, da. So with the chords, we have the E flat major 7 to start. It's technically a 13 because the 13's on top. D, and then we have, and that G minor again. All right, I hope you you like this lesson. It's kind of a fun tune to play. I haven't really played much jazz on a banjo. It's very weird to me. My guitar brain feels very uncomfortable doing that stuff on here. It's just not the way I often think about these chords. But I hope you like this lesson. Again, if you're interested in having the tougher arrangements so you can kind of compare and contrast them, I will do that if I have at least 5 people who say they're interested and don't mind going to Patreon to do that. But yeah, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. If you like this, I could do more of this stuff in the future. It's kind of fun. Okay, till next time. Bye.